Ha! Looking at the curve, can you tell when I turned on climate control? Guys, the climate control issue with charging an Ultium vehicle is way better, but still not fixed. Welcome back to Out of Spec Bits, and I think GM has solved some of our charging issues with these big old batteries and the smaller batteries, just GM Ultium batteries in general, while running climate at a DC fast charger. Huge news, folks. On September 2nd, in just a couple days, our nonprofit friends over the CCAN Action Fund are going to announce the winners for the raffle of 3 amazing electric vehicles.
If you haven't bought your ticket to win a Rivian, Lucid, Porsche EV, or a Volkswagen ID Buzz and more, you're almost out of time.
Here's the kicker, folks. This EV raffle for the planet is big time undersold. Literally thousands of tickets are left unpurchased, which means, mathematically speaking, your chances of winning are higher than ever. It's simple. Fewer tickets purchased means better odds for you. And remember, each ticket is worth not 1, but 3 chances to win prizes.
You could win a Rivian R1S, like mine, or a Lucid Gravity, an Ioniq 5, or a Chevy Equinox. So, if you haven't picked up a ticket already, what are you waiting for? And if you already have one, might as well get another one. Increase your odds.
Tickets are just $200. Go to www.evraffle.org to get yours today before time runs out. That's evraffle.org. The link is below. Yeah, so big news. This is the 2026 model year Chevrolet Silverado EV Trail Boss Max Pack. Mouthful, battery full, 200 plus kilowatt hours of energy in this big boy. And I've recently done a charging test at this exact charger in very similar conditions with an Escalade IQ. That was a 2025 model year. I have a whole video on that complaining about the fact that running climate while charging drastically affects your performance and your overall energy delivered and will just give you longer charging stops. The unclarity at the moment is whether or not this update, whatever is fixed here, is coming to older models. Is it a software tweak or is it a hardware tweak now with 2026 models? The reason this is not on the Out of Spec testing channel is because I don't have the hard scientific data of the battery pack temperature when plugged in, other than the fact that it was plugged in at 10% both cases, in the same ambient conditions, with the car claiming it was fully preconditioned. So there is a margin of error that I still think is acceptable to say this is a cool finding. So let's back up. This is the Chevrolet Trail Boss Silverado EV. Now kind of the max pack, max trim. The RST is gone. No more air suspension, no more 24-inch wheels, for those who need translation there. This thing is sick. This is the Silverado EV to buy, if you ask me. Now, you can get this max battery pack and all this thing as configured as $93,000. That's a lot of money. You can get a Silverado EV Trail Boss for less money, a lot less money, by just doing the extended range battery pack, which extended, the word makes me think that's a big battery, but it's a less big battery, which doesn't make sense to me. I have issues with some of GM's nomenclature, but that's 72 grand starting, so that's pretty good. You can, of course, add options and stuff to the lower battery to bring it closer to this price, but hey, to each their own. Even with the extended range battery, you're still getting over 400 miles of EPA. This one, 478 miles EPA, 493 for the work truck variant, which is totally usable. So, back to the big news. I feel like it was worth making a really quick bits video on, I guess, them solving it. So with the Escalade IQ, I did a 10% challenge with climate control on. The charger delivered 64 kilowatt hours to the truck. Then I did the same exact charging later on, same conditions though, with no climate control on. Delivered 84 kilowatt hours. That's a 20 kilowatt hour disparity in 15 minutes, which I think is a pretty significant difference. And that's a huge difference when you're doing a road trip. All those charging stops can really add up, and there's a lot of complaints. If you just go look at the forums, Google Escalade or Silverado charging in the heat, climate control on, you'll find loads of people complaining about it. But what we've seen here is that there is definitely an improvement. So I checked the data right as I crossed 15 minutes. It said 84 kilowatt hours, 47%. So here's how that translates. The Escalade IQ did 64 kilowatt hours with climate on, 84 with climate off. Now the new version of this battery, as far as we can tell, same exact battery, 74 kilowatt hours with climate on, 84 with climate off. So we saw the same exact charging capacity in 15 minutes with climate off, which makes me think this is a accurate test. Pretty accurate. Again, I don't have the actual OBD data of like the battery temperature and stuff, but same type of conditions, same exact charger. As far as I can tell, everything's pretty much the exact same, at least enough to tell whether that has made a difference. And again, I don't know if it's the 2026 model year specifically, a hardware change, or if it's an update. I'm curious if any of you guys have updates on your 2025 or even older max battery GM products, or GM products as a whole, because we've seen climate control have a drastic issue with even smaller GM batteries, like the half-stacked one, the 102-ish kilowatt hour. So I'm curious what you guys think, if you think this is huge news, or if you're just like, whatever, it's not a big difference. I do think a 10 kilowatt hour delivered is a big difference, especially it's 92 degrees out here right now. I am roasting. I want to go sit in the truck with AC on, and I don't want that to really kill climate. And I don't want that to really kill my charging performance. It's just not a premium experience. And when you're paying nearly 100 grand for a car, or in the Escalade's case, well over 100 grand, I think you're wanting probably a bit of a nicer experience. They're so proud of their peak charging speed, which you really need to dump energy into this battery, usable energy anyways. So I think that's kind of cool. I'm glad to see it improved. I'm hoping that's the case across all 2026 model years. We'll be testing as many as possible. I love doing these 10% challenges. I think it's a great idea on how it will do in a road trip. So again, 111 miles is what this one did. There's a whole video on the testing channel about that. So out of curiosity, well, for some reason the charger just stopped. They're looking into it. It may have been the truck for some reason saying it was done, but there is no charge limit set, so I'm not sure what was going on. Either way, we are charging once again here, ramped back up nicely. I'm gonna turn climate on mid-charge and see if I notice a dip drastically like we did before, or maybe a small dip. We'll see. Even this high up in the battery, it actually has produced a noticeable impact before. So, because the battery's nice and toasty now after charging, and the cabin is not cooled off, let's see what happens. So 154 kilowatts is what it's saying. Climate turning back on, cooled seat turning back on, 91 degrees out there. It is genuinely toasty, but still so far no dip. I think before the dip was like immediate, so this is kind of cool to see. A little bit of a dip there. We'll keep an eye on it. I'm gonna keep climate on now, just keep the car turned on. Let's see if I turn the vehicle off. Okay. Whoa, it's shooting back up. Oh no. Well, okay, it's improved, but not fixed. Let's put it that way. The charge rate jumping, skyrocketing back up to 135 kilowatts compared to 80. So I do think there's still maybe an inherent engineering challenge with just how these cars are designed, engineered, with the coolant loop being shared. But at least further down in the pack where it matters the most, I do think there's an improvement still. It's just not what it could have or should have been. Let me turn the car back on again. Climate back on. Let's see if it drops back down. It's definitely a delayed reaction, but it still does have a reaction. Yep, we are falling back off a cliff once again. 115 kilowatts. Oh man. All right, GM, back to the drawing board. Now watch this. Vehicle off. Vehicle off. 97 kilowatts. Boom. Skyrocket right back up. And according to the guessometer on the left, it's a difference between 150 miles per hour gained versus almost double. Yikes. All right, well, it's improved, but not resolved, which I guess is the story of this video now. Well, the video was going to be, it's fixed, but now it's better. So I guess I'll make another video if it ever does get actually fixed, but I'm still worried about the fact that this may not be fixable without an actual engineering design overhaul. Maybe an engineer can chime in and let me know, but from my continued testing now with various battery packs, different sizes, different models, even now different model years, still a problem, but it's better. Side note, this will make my German colleagues annoyed, but see how this logo is perfectly straight up and down? This one is not. It's just a little bit crooked, which would drive Mercedes employees absolutely crazy. Doesn't bother me, I think it's kind of funny, but every single logo on these Chargers is straight except for, I think, that one. That's hysterical. So as we can determine with this fancy charging curve they show us, you can definitely tell when I turned on climate control here, here, and again here, and it does still have an effect. However, the first charging session, it was still improved. And as we saw with the 10% challenge, still improved. So I'll take an improvement over no action at all, but it's still not quite there. Again, maybe it's an engineering overhaul that has to happen with the way the system is developed, the shared coolant loop, however that works. Once again, if an engineer is watching, we'd love to talk to you about it, maybe get you on the show to explain yourself. And maybe it'll be fixed in a future iteration. Maybe it's a software thing they're still tweaking, not sure. But either way, I'm glad it's improved. Just wish that had been, fully fixed. So on a hot day like today, 93 degrees, you can sit in the air conditioning of your GM vehicle, the excellent air conditioning that they offer, but you will be impacting your charging speed a noticeable amount, but not quite as drastically as before. Thanks for watching.